Kyrie Irving sent every NBA player an invite to talk about not restarting the season. Only 80 guys showed up, but the biggest name not on that call was LeBron James. Patrick Beverley correctly pointed out this weekend in a tweet, "Hoopers, say what y'all want, but if King James said he hooping, we all hooping. Not personal, only business." And that's exactly right. LeBron James was having none of it. But why did LeBron refuse to even go there? And what does it mean for the Lakers that Dwight Howard and Avery Bradley were on Kyrie's side? Hey, it's Casey Kiernan. Welcome to AM Hoops. Hit subscribe if you don't subscribe already. Also hit notification bells. It really helps out the channel. Go check out the AM Hoops podcast too, wherever you listen to podcasts. Always drop a fresh episode every single Friday. I would say most people were annoyed that Kyrie Irving, of all people, was the one to lead this call. I mean, the flat earth guy who isn't even playing because of injury? Of course it was Kyrie Irving. I reacted to Kyrie's call in the video linked above, but my point basically is that it isn't about Kyrie. The call was about the message that actually a lot of players feel. Basketball should take a back seat to the social justice movement. I'm actually glad that Kyrie made this call. A bunch of guys were having the conversation in private. Kyrie just made it public, and now there will be plenty of time to sort things out. I do believe the NBA season will resume as planned. Even if a few guys do sit out, they'll be replaced by guys signed off the street, like Jamal Crawford or DeMarcus Cousins. LeBron James, though, is not one of the players who wants to cancel the season. The Athletic reported this week that LeBron believes he can affect social change and play basketball at the same time. Most guys believe that, actually. LeBron, though, has done this his entire career. He's used his platform throughout the years, and most recently he formed a group to protect voting rights. So it looks like LeBron wasn't on the call as a way to protest Kyrie's protest. But maybe an issue for LeBron is that two key Laker teammates were on that call, Dwight Howard and Avery Bradley. Avery Bradley, in fact, was the second most vocal guy on the call besides Kyrie. Hey, don't laugh at Avery Bradley being important to the Lakers. He has 5 years of playoff experience with Boston. Point guard is a shallow position for LA. And the one time they beat the Clippers, it was because Avery Bradley got hot going 6 of 12 from downtown. The second player was Dwight Howard. Now, Dwight asked for a non-guaranteed contract this year to prove himself, and he has. He comes off the bench backing up JaVale McGee, and he's a big reason why the Lakers have the third-ranked defense. Now, normally I would pick a side and be extremely opinionated like I always am on this channel, but on this issue, I am not. It is a deeply personal decision for these players, one that I can't understand as a white guy. And something that really drove that home for me was Bill Simmons' interview with Bill Russell. Back in 1968, they decided to play even though Martin Luther King had just been assassinated.
So you get the news that he's been killed. You're about to play the Sixers in the '68 playoffs.
Well, they asked us, do you want to call the game off? And someone pointed out that 12 or 13,000 people on the streets with emotions off the chart. And if we play the game, then give the folks a chance to cool down. And that's the reason we had the game.
So you're glad you had the game in retrospect. It seems like it was the right idea.
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. We did what we thought was right at that time.
I cannot let my selfish desire to have NBA basketball come back make my mind up. Bill Russell still doesn't know if it was the right decision 45 years later. Who would I be to tell these guys what to do? I will say, though, I thought Dwight was going to retire from basketball after the Kyrie call. He sent out a statement to CNN that was super long, but part of it said this, quote, "I agree with Kyrie. Basketball or entertainment period isn't needed at this moment and will only be a distraction. No basketball till we get things resolved." Yeah, this isn't gonna be resolved like in our lifetimes probably, which would mean no basketball ever. But then his agent came out and was like, whoa, hold on, I didn't mean no basketball. He said, quote, "This statement was about social injustice and racism, yet everybody is still talking about whether basketball should be played. He isn't saying that basketball shouldn't be. Yeah, that is literally what he said. But okay, Dwight isn't sure if he's gonna play or not. The point is, there is disagreement within the Lakers locker room here, and that could stand in the way of LeBron James getting that 4th title. People jumped immediately to say that Kyrie was trying to ruin LeBron's chance at another ring by canceling the season. Maybe he doesn't need that. He can just cause issues in the Lakers locker room. Naturally, the Lakers were asked about this, and an anonymous Laker said there is no divide between his teammates, and I actually believe that. Normally, I would say do not believe anyone that's saying, oh, nothing to see here, when there's clearly drama, but I don't think the Lakers are any different than any other team in the NBA. Take the Bucks, for example, who are the Vegas favorite to win the title. Their backup point guard, George Hill, literally said recently, basketball is, quote, the last thing on my mind right now. I know the Pacers aren't a favorite, but Malcolm Brogdon has been one of the leading players in these protests. What about the Sixers? Joel Embiid was on the Kyrie Irving call. Donovan Mitchell of the Jazz on the call too. He has injury concerns about not playing. Even if Lakers role players are with Kyrie, the leadership of the Lakers, like Anthony Davis, LeBron James, all in on going to Orlando. It's no different than any other team. Look at this list of notable players that were on the Kyrie call. Malcolm Brogdon, CJ McCollum, Joel Embiid, Justin Holiday, Rudy Gay, Spencer Dinwiddie, Harrison Barnes, Al-Farouq Aminu, Tobias Harris, Kyle Lowry, Mike Conley Jr., Zach Collins, Miles Turner, and a whole lot more. Point is, chemistry issues around this subject are not unique to the Lakers. In fact, Danny Green gave an interview after the Kyrie call and said the biggest complaint he's heard is which hotel the guys are gonna stay in. If Dwight or Avery Bradley decide not to play, the NBA has a backup plan. They're gonna allow teams to sign any player who's ever been in the NBA, up to 17 players, which is 2 more than a normal playoff roster. So if Dwight sits out, maybe they re-sign DeMarcus Cousins for the playoffs. If Avery Bradley doesn't go, guards like J.R. Smith or Jeremy Lin or Jamal Crawford are out there. So role players sitting out is not an issue, and chemistry is not an issue, but I think a problem for LeBron James is the asterisk. Some people, though, think that the 2020 championship is like extra special. Like if you win this, you should be really proud that you won the championship of the most nightmare season in NBA history under the craziest conditions at Orlando. And normally I agree with that. But man, the asterisk argument is gaining more and more traction every day, and that is a bad thing for LeBron. Like, if a large enough group of players does plan to sit out, I can't take these playoffs seriously. Some of the guys that we just said on that call are so important, it'd be hard to say the champion had to beat the best players in the league. Then there's the doomsday scenario of a really important player testing positive for coronavirus. And by the way, that is gonna happen before we get to Orlando. Seriously. The NBA is about to start testing everyone, and maybe by the time you watch this video, a handful of guys tested positive. So many players have been out protesting in crowds, may not even know they have it. I promise at least one player will test positive very soon, but that is totally different than a positive test during the playoffs. No matter how you cut it, the bubble is not safe. Seriously, if safety was the #1 concern, they wouldn't have 22 teams. They would just have the 16 teams and play the postseason. The Disney World Park will be open while the NBA's there. There will be maids and food staff from outside the bubble. Eventually, families will be let in. If Giannis Antetokounmpo or Kawhi Leonard test positive in the finals or conference finals, it would absolutely be an asterisk title for LeBron James. I hate to say it because I'm not a LeBron hater, but the title would not be taken seriously. Some people think the coronavirus should be like any other injury. And hey, we take the Raptors title seriously. KD and Klay were injured, but the Raptors won. But you know this would be different. The NBA didn't have to play, but it is. And that could mean an asterisk on LeBron's legacy. Now, whether there's a positive test or not, you know some people are gonna call it a fake championship for LeBron either way. I mean, LeBron is the most polarizing player since Kobe Bryant. Also a Laker, by the way. People either love LeBron or they hate LeBron, and that will be proven yet again if LeBron's Lakers happen to win a championship in this Disney bubble. The people that love LeBron are gonna say he took a 3rd team to a title. He's close or better than Michael Jordan. The people who hate LeBron are gonna say things were so different it's not legit. We do know that LeBron thinks it's legit and that he thinks he can both create social justice and play basketball at the same time. It's why he wasn't on Kyrie's call, and like Pat Beverley said, it's why we will finish this season. Support AM Hoops and click subscribe. Don't miss a daily NBA video.